Hello Luxury Home Show, my name's Genevieve Harris and welcome to my 600-year-old cottage nestled in the English countryside. Come on in. This kind of feels to me a little bit more cottagey, and this is a little bit more grander for entertaining. Legend has it that King Henry VIII had actually slept in this room. What's really fascinating is that some of them actually have witches' marks engraved into them. So this is the kitchen. We moved here 7 years ago, and one of the reasons I loved this house was it had just a lovely feeling to the kitchen. It was a lovely size. The kitchen actually was completely falling down. It really had nothing to it, so we had to rebuild the whole thing. The only thing that was here was this old oil aga, and it is my favorite bit of the house. It's the heart of the home. All the animals go, they cuddle up to it in the winter. It's really cozy and it's just a joy to cook with. We wanted to design a kitchen that looked like it had always been here, and we chose the color actually by accident. It started off as being a dark green, which was a really beautiful color, but it just didn't suit the space. And I came upon this yellow and it just, I don't know, it just spoke to me. It was really cheery, really kind of happy, and I just love it. When we moved in, there was a space outside of the kitchen that was just completely overgrown, and my idea was to have a little kitchen garden with some raised beds, herbs where I could grow my vegetables, and it was kind of the first thing that we did before we started to build the kitchen. And it's just such a lovely space to look out onto. When I'm doing the dishes, I can look out, see everything growing, and it just works really well for the space. So this is my little vegetable garden. It brings me so much joy. I grow not just vegetables, but sometimes I've got some cut flowers as well. So I've got some cosmos, some sweet peas, always have some lettuce. Right now I'm growing some broccoli. So what I try to do is always have something that I can nip out and pick. Below the raised beds is a herb garden that gets lots of sun, and I've always got fresh herbs that I can use in my cooking. So it's just so handy outside of the kitchen. It's just really, really nice. So now we're back in the kitchen. I'm going to show you a room next door to the kitchen that is so useful. Traditionally it was called the scullery, and it was designed for an area to do all your laundry and all of that, and actually that is kind of what we use it for now. But we use it for lots of things. We've got Bear's bed. It is her bedroom. I also do my laundry, and sometimes the kids will sit and do homework here. Sometimes I'll go on my laptop, do a bit of work. It's really nice to be near the kitchen, and the best bit about it is in busy seasons like Christmas, you can put all of your junk in here, shut the door and leave it. So it's very, very handy for that. So coming out of the kitchen, to the right, I've got a little boot room. I've got a loo and a sink. And then to the left, I've got a very tiny room, but it's one of my favorite rooms. So this is a very traditional larder, or pantry as some like to call it. It is my favorite room in the house. It's somewhere there I can put all of my preserves and my jams and pastas, and obviously my champagne. And what I love to do is just to come in here and stare at everything and try and think up, what am I going to make for dinner tonight? So this is the dining room. It is very, very cozy. It's one of the oldest parts of the house. I absolutely love hosting. I love having loads of friends around, and it's just my favorite thing to have everyone crowd around the table, a big feast, everyone tucking in some delicious food, lots of wine. And what I often think is, it's 600 years old. Who is eating here? What could these walls say? What gossip has been heard? It's just incredible, really. So a very special portrait. This is Frank Gresley. It's painted by Harold Gresley, who is my husband's great-great-grandfather. And I just love him, and I love that he looks down onto the family while we're feasting. And now I'm going to take you into the drawing room. I'm laughing right now because Bear is literally following me around the whole house doing the tour with me. So I had to formally introduce you. This is Bear. So this is the drawing room. Originally, there wouldn't have been a ceiling. 600 years ago, it would have been one big hall. But over the years, these rooms change and they put in a beautiful big brick floor and obviously the ceiling. We limed washed the beams actually. They were originally a really dark brown and it kind of felt quite oppressive. So we used traditional lime lime wash, and I think it kind of really lightened it. We've got this amazing inglenook fireplace, which is just so beautiful. It originally had an open fire here, and we put in the log burner because although I really wanted an open fire, every time we lit it, because it had such a big flue, it would sometimes smoke us out. So we would have a room full of smoke, which wasn't ideal. So we put it in the log burner, but it's very cozy in the winter. It's a great room for entertaining, to have drinks and nibbles before going into the dining room for dinner, and it's just a great space. Because it's such a long room, it's about 40 feet long, we actually added another fireplace, and we tend to actually use the room as in two sections. So if it's just us, the family, we will sit here of an evening, light this fire and watch TV. If we've got guest rounds, we'll use more of this area. So it's kind of, we use it in two sections, but this kind of feels to me a little bit more cottagey, and this is a little bit more grander for entertaining. Practically every single window in this house we had to replace. They were all rotten. It was in such a bad state, but we had to replace them like for like. So they had to be exactly the same as they were. So these windows, we had to have them re-leaded and the new frames, but I wanted a color, and it was quite difficult to kind of incorporate a color into the beams. So I decided to put the color into the woodwork for the windows and the doors. And I chose this green, and it's called Invisible Green. And the whole point of it is to kind of bring the outside in. So I've got the planting outside, and the green kind of brings it in, so you haven't got that barrier between house and garden, which I really love. Right, that's the downstairs. Let me show you upstairs. Okay, so this is the upstairs. We've got 4 bedrooms, and I'm going to start with this one, which we call the solar. So this room traditionally was called the solar because it was south facing and the sun shone on it, which made it really warm. And usually the most important people would sleep in the solar because it was lovely and warm compared to the rest of the house. And legend has it that King Henry VIII had actually slept in this room. Apparently he was visiting the area and doing some wild boar hunting in the woods across the street, which is pretty incredible. So the windows we actually replaced, and we were really lucky because when we bought the house, they were square windows, and the architect found evidence that there was originally arrowhead windows, so we were able to put them back. And I think they're really charming, really beautiful, and they're quite a feature from the front of the house. This one's really interesting too. It's a mullion window, and it's crazy to think that back 600 years ago there wasn't any glass, so none of these windows would have had any glass in them. It would have been just shutters, so you can imagine how freezing it would be. Other features that I love are the amazing oak wide floorboards, the lime wash beams, really beautiful, and this Gap advertisement for my husband's trousers. So coming down the corridor, you can really see the difference between the two eras of the building. So this is the old bit of the house. This is slightly more modern. I say it's modern, it's Georgian, it's still very old. But you can see in the master bedroom, it is a really different feel to it. So the ceilings are a lot higher, bigger windows, much more symmetrical, typically Georgian. You look at the fireplaces, it is very much of that era. I absolutely love designing this bedroom. It's very me. I love the pale blue. It's very light and airy, and I deliberately chose very English, quintessentially English country aesthetic. I've got the Colfax and Fowler chintz curtains, which I sourced from eBay, William Morris print on the sofa, lots of kind of antique textiles, the patchwork quilts, and yeah, I mean, lots of the furniture I did source locally from antique shops, the haberdasher's cabinet for all my knitwear. To me, it kind of is a real look of English country house aesthetic, which is my favorite. So actually in this room, this doorway here had an arch and this one didn't, and it always really bugged me because Georgians wouldn't have done that. It would have been symmetrical. So we fixed the arch, made them exactly the same, the two doors. One of them is just a closet, and the other one weirdly just had a sink for no particular reason and not a loo, so we put a little ensuite in here. So now we've got a loo and a sink, which is very handy. So I'm going to take you down to see all of the bathrooms on this side of the house. It's very typical for very old houses to only have plumbing on one side of the house. So all of the loos, all of the sinks are on this side of the house. I'll show you them in a minute, but I want to show you one of my favorite little antiques in the house. So I'm going to show you this. I absolutely love it. It's my Perfumery. Sometimes you see French ones, but it's very rare to see English ones. And I put all of my perfumes in it. Absolutely no one is allowed to come into it and have a look except me. And I have all of my treasures. I love it. I love it. So we've got a bathroom and a little loo, but this is the main one, and I'll come and show you. So this is the main bathroom. We actually haven't done that much to it. It was one of those things that it was the last thing on our list to do, and when we first moved in, we had all these ideas of how we wanted to change it. It's pure 1960s, and actually, after living here for a little while, we kind of have grown to love it. I've added a few things to it, so I wanted the space to feel like not so much a bathroom, but more of another extra space to live in. So I've got my little chair, I've got the little dresser, I can sit and have a cup of tea while I'm running a bath and just relax. So this room is really, really special. It's got this amazing high vaulted ceiling and this incredible crown post, which is actually really unique to this area of Kent, hence it being a whole house, really high ceilings. And originally the floor wouldn't have been here and it would have been one massive room with a big fire in the middle. The top mezzanine, the reason it is there is that people used to sleep up there because the heat obviously rose and it was a little bit warmer for them. We did actually think about putting a little rail up at the top so that my son could go up there and play, but we never really got around to it. But it's kind of a neat feature. And yeah, so this is his room. It's a very unique room and he's a very lucky boy to call it his bedroom. So most of the rooms in this house do have fireplaces just because there was a time when there was obviously no electricity and it was the only way to keep the room warm. This one we don't actually use anymore, but we have thought about reinstating it because it would be incredible to have it open, but it's just got this beautiful Bessemer beam, really high fluted chimney stack. What always amazes me is that all of these incredible huge bits of oak were taken from the woods at the back of our house, so everything is really local, and B, what is just blows my mind is that the whole construction of this house was done by manpower. There wasn't any machinery, so everything was hoisted up by ropes. Just incredible. So talking about these ancient beams, what's really fascinating is that some of them actually have witches' marks engraved into them. It was 600 years ago and they believed in witchcraft, they believed in evil spirits. So over the thresholds of some of the fireplaces where they thought that the spirits would come in through a fireplace, over the doors and sometimes over the walls, there are these amazing marks that are inscribed into the wood. So there's lots of different marks here. Some of them are actually carpenter marks, some of them were witches' marks. It's kind of on the fence which is which. There are experts in these fields, which I definitely am not. But you can see the circle here, you can see the V, there's a V there. Often it stood for a Virgin Mary, and there's just really incredible signs of history and signs of the age of this building. And then upstairs we've got my daughter's room. She's very modern, she doesn't like anything antique, so I'm not really going to dwell on that room. So we have about 3.5 acres here. When we first moved in, there was no garden. It was completely overgrown. It just had been put to lawn and all the beds had been removed. So slowly I put everything back the way I wanted it. And this is one of my favorite bits. It's the orchard. Let me show you. So this is the orchard. One of the first things I did was I planted some fruit trees and I picked traditional varieties. We've got apples, pears, plums and cherries. I knew that I wanted to have a kind of meadow aspect to it because I wanted to really encourage pollinators and insects, bees and moths and butterflies, and it really, really works. As the seasons go by, we get so many different wildflowers that attract the nature, and it's just so beautiful to watch. I'm going to show you next door our vegetable patch. Come with me. So this is a bit of a work in progress, but bear with me. So we've got raspberries here and we've got rhubarb, and they kind of just look after themselves, but they're so lovely to come in the middle of the summer, come and pick some fresh raspberries. It's just so nice, and it's particularly nice for the kids to do. Also, bear often steals them. Over here is a new project of mine. What I really wanted to do was create a beautiful cutting garden. So I have planted very many dahlias. Now, right now you can't see them, but hopefully by the end of the summer, I'm going to have a long cutting garden where you can just come, pick bunches of flowers, bring them into the house, and it will just be a very lovely thing. So watch this space. A few months, should look very good. So as I said previously, there was no garden. It was literally just lawn everywhere. So the first thing I did was plant all of these little box hedges everywhere. Now they're lovely and established, but originally they were teeny tiny plants. But it kind of gave a bit of a structure to the garden. And then I knew my planting scheme, I wanted it to be very cottage garden, very English countryside cottage garden. So with that, there were lots and lots of roses, and particularly some old English roses. And I've got probably 20 to 25 varieties, so tons of them. And then from May onwards, you just get the most incredible display and scent. It's just so beautiful. And then in amongst the roses, I've got lots of perennials, things that actually don't take a lot of maintenance, but just kind of look after themselves. This is never going to be a perfect garden. I haven't got a gardener, I do it all myself, and it is certainly not manicured. It's a bit wild, but it's kind of something that just brings me so much joy because it isn't perfect. There's beauty in the imperfection, is what I say. So that was the tour of my house. I do hope you enjoyed. It was an absolute pleasure showing you around my home. If you did enjoy, you can always follow me on Mrs. Trufflepig on Instagram, and I write about all my country ramblings on Substack, Genevieve Harris. See you soon.
Hi Luxury Home Show. My name is Pearl, I'm a designer, and this is my home in Somerset. Come in.